Capricorn, it's Empress Rose, and we'll be doing your general reading now. So these are general readings. Take what works, leave what doesn't. Check your other major placements for other storylines that might work for you or be what you're looking for. So we're going to start with the Oracle Mystical Moments deck for an intuitive vibe of where we're going. We are grateful for the accurate message we are about to receive very quickly. Anything else? Oh gosh, no, I hope not. That's enough. Okay. A lot of changes, some of them difficult. So we're going to start with new directions. So you had a great idea. It seemed awesome. It seemed wonderful. You and your friends were going to float away. It was maybe a job idea, a relationship idea, but it just seemed so cool. It looked right. Everything looked perfect. You got on it. Wind came along. You made the commitment. You left. You got in this little idea and you made the commitment and you launched. And it didn't work out anything like what you had planned at all. It just blew to pieces with the first wind, which we can see that that's what it was meant to do. It wasn't meant to last the journey. It wasn't meant to go the whole way. It blew apart. You grabbed onto one idea, and now this is what's meant to happen. This is the thing that's supposed to happen. This one little idea, it's a seed, and the wind is meant to blow this away. The winds, the spiritual winds, the winds of God, the winds of change came in and they blew this thing apart, but it's supposed to blow apart. That's literally what a dandelion head does. And then you grabbed a seed and now you're headed in a totally new place. You don't know where you're going to land. You don't necessarily have a plan, but it was sort of an emergency ejection issue here as this thing was going down. So one of my favorite books is Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart. And basically the premise is that things are designed to fall apart. They have a useful moment. This got you into the air. This got you moving. This got you going. But they're designed to fall apart. And the reason is that all those pieces are meant to go back together. It's like life is just a giant Lego set. And you're supposed to take, you build something, it's really cool. Not the current like Lego kits, but the Lego sets I grew up with, which is just a bunch of blocks. And you build something, and then when you're done with it, you take it all apart. And then the next time you build something new with it, totally different. And then you take it all apart, and then that's what life is. So when things fall apart like that, it's just life. It's just your Lego set wants to be a new thing. And life's making it very clear that it's time to take that Lego set away. And that structure needs to go away. And it's time for you to bring in a new structure. It's time for something new to come together. So this is, as you can see, this was never meant to last. Nothing ever is, but this was really not meant to last. It wasn't built to last at all. You got your little like individual parachute here though, and it's a really good idea. You've ejected yourself from the situation and you're moving someplace much better. You got a much better idea. Things are gonna go way better now. You're headed you're being redirected basically. We can all expect redirections multiple times in our lives where we think we're on the right path and we actually are on the right path and our desires are leading us to the right thing. We get there, we get what we want, and then we have a redirection, and then now it's time to move in a different way. And that's not something bad. That's not like you were wrong to want this. It's not like you were wrong to get in this. It's not like you were wrong to want this and to think that that was a balloon. You kind of were, but you really weren't. You were meant to get in that. You're meant to go that direction. And then now it's just a redirection. It's nothing to be worried about. But here we have Red Garden. Here you are. You're looking at the past. You've changed in a really dramatic way and then in a very private way. You're looking at the past. It's affecting your vision though. Your heart's starting to look towards the future. Your heart's got its eye on the future and is looking a different direction. You're looking at the past. It changed, your whole life changed in this really obvious and dramatic way. But that moment when you jumped out of that hat and grabbed onto that thing, that changed you in a very deep, private way that isn't really shared with a lot of people. Not a lot of people know that. But there was this big this big way where it was obvious to everybody where you changed and you grew and you blossomed that way. And then there's this smaller private way where you're changing. And then here you have your heart looking towards the future. But you got some issues in how you're viewing the past. I don't necessarily want to call it rose-colored glasses. It could be bitter-colored glasses. It does look like rose-colored glasses, like maybe something from the past maybe was a little better than you remember it better than what it actually was. You know, maybe you remember this as this really great idea, super great idea. Oh my God, that's going to be so fun. And maybe you remember it as being a balloon and being an actual, you know, silk balloon. And you remember that as being in a balloon. But what it really was this dandelion head, and it wasn't built to last. So you may be looking back at something with these rose-colored glasses, but your heart's ready to move. Your heart's like, okay, but what's over here? I'm done with that. But your brain is still sort of obsessing over something over here that you think was better than it was. You get keys on trees then here. And this is, you're this elephant that's up in this tower. Somebody else put you here. This is a position and a situation you're profoundly uncomfortable with. You do not want to be here. You could never have gotten here on your own. I remember situations like that. There was an argument once where I was like, there's no way. I didn't even participate in the argument. I got pegged for the argument because the other person was mad at me and blamed me for everything. I didn't even respond to it. I was just like, what? And then I found out 15 years later, people were still talking about how I got into an argument. I was like, I didn't get into an argument with her. It was like all her own thing. She decided it was my fault. I didn't engage with her at all. So why am I still being pegged with this 15 years later? I'm a little bitter about it. Not really. I'm pretty much done with it. I think it's a little bit humorous how people see what they're told to see and not what's actually happening. Anyway, so it's a bit like that. Like there was an argument you didn't even participate in. You didn't even have any choice in. Someone just got mad at you for something you didn't do. Someone else did it, but they decided that you must have done it. So anyway, somehow you're up here. You're up here in this position that's very uncomfortable for you. No, I'm a little uncomfortable. I feel like I overshared here. But you're up here and you're uncomfortable, but the view you get it from up here is pretty interesting. Like I learned a lot about people from that position and about how they work and how levels of gullibility and levels of, influenceability and whose opinions they valued and what they were going to listen to. So I learned a lot actually. So that's what you're doing here. You're learning a lot. You get in a lay of the land here that you wouldn't have got if you'd stayed right where you were comfortable. So, but you're out of your comfort zone. It's not your fault. Someone else trapped you, took you up here. I mean, normally we want to be looking at like, what did I do? How did I influence this? What could I have done? But there are some situations where it's just somebody else caught you, trapped you, took you up here. But you look at, you've got some work to do. You're gonna get back into your comfort zone. This is a temporary situation. You're temporarily out of your comfort zone. You've got this key here. If this one doesn't work, you've got the tools, you got your trunk here, you got the tools and abilities to get all these other keys and try each one. So it could be a long process that goes on. It could be a small process, quick process. We don't know how long the process is going to take. What we do know is you're out of your comfort zone. Being out of your comfort zone is giving you a lot of different information that you're going to be able to use once you get back down into your comfort zone. We know this is a temporary situation though. We're not worried about you being stuck up there permanently and starving to death. It's just a temporary thing. You're going to get out of it. You're going to move on. All right. This one looks about right. All right. Oh my gosh. I was not expecting this. New moon in Libra, a new romantic cycle begins. This can be a relationship. Sometimes the labels on this card drive me nuts. These cards drive me nuts. But this can be a new moon in Libra. We've got a balanced, even, good relationship coming in. Either with a friendship or a lover or even a work situation where it's going to be very even. There's going to be a lot of good give and take. And there's going to be some emotional balance, but you're beginning a new relationship with something or somebody. So that's your heart. It looks like your heart's going to win here. Your mind's really focused on the past, this incident from 15 years ago, but your heart's moving on. Your heart's ready for a new relationship. Your heart's ready for something new. It's tired of looking at what fell apart. It's done with that. Your brain's still working on that, but your brain's still chewing on that, but your heart's ready for a new thing. And that's what you got coming in. I like. Okay, and then we're going to move to ethereal visions. I just had my first in-person reading since coronavirus, and I totally forgot that I have the person I'm reading for shuffle the deck and then cut the deck. And so I was like, what? Oh my God, they're touching my cards. Ew. But I had to adapt for this, and then now I'm having to adapt for that again. It was kind of uncomfortable for me. So I do this little nervous shuffle, but that's what reminded me. I do this little shuffle before, even though they're thoroughly shuffled, trying to like approximate your shuffling and cutting of the deck. All right, Capricorn. This is your past. This is your present. This is in your inner landscape. This is what's at issue. This is your environment, your to-do list, and your possible outcome. Alrighty. We've got the 9 of Wands and the 8 of Wands right off the bat here. And then a couple, yeah. That's the striking thing. Literally, you know, because Wands, striking. See, look, he's striking with his Wands. 9 of Wands, you're the wounded warrior. You're tired. You have a Band-Aid on your head. You need to go to the hospital. You need to lay down. You need to lay flat on your back in a dark room for a long period of time, but you don't get to. You see, you're the wounded warrior. You got to keep fighting. So you've had to fight long past your breaking point. You've had to hold your ground, stick with what you believe in, stick with your vision for things for a lot longer than you wanted. You wanted to go lay down, but you couldn't. You had to keep fighting, keep going, keep going, keep going. No matter how bad you feel, no matter that you wanted to land this and you couldn't land it. So then in a panic, you had to grab this thing when in fact all you wanted to do was land, and then you had to fly through the air when you were just tired of flying at all. But now then you had to fly through the air. And yeah, you're in an uncomfortable spot. You're out of your comfort zone. This is definitely being way out of your comfort zone. You're literally uncomfortable, and you still have to keep going. You still have to be in the situation. You still have to fight for what you believe in. In your present situation, you have a lot of communication, a lot of emails, a lot of texts, a lot of communication is going on. I don't know exactly what it's about. We don't really get a clue. It could be this argument, this difficulty. Could be you being stuck in this situation. Could be a lot of different things. Could be rehashing the past. Maybe you're rehashing the past here because you're looking at it so much about what happened and what went on and how things fell apart. So maybe you're communicating about that. There's a lot of communication. I get this card sometimes when I am ignoring communication that's really, really important. So I would just say, from personal experience, check your inbox, open the mail, make sure you're not missing anything. So there's a lot of communication going on in your present situation. It's important communication. You should not be ignoring it. In your inner landscape, you have this 9 of Cups. You're kind of proud of where you're at. You maybe changed and grew and did this whole, thing, both internally and externally, and you're very happy with it. Or this is where you want to be. You want to feel proud of yourself and proud of your emotional growth and proud of your emotional maturity. You're hoping to get to a spot where you can be very proud of how you responded to this situation. You'd like to get there. You'd like to feel proud of yourself and happy with where you're at emotionally. So that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping to have grown and learned enough that you can be proud of yourself and you can almost display your emotional maturity. You'd like to have enough emotional maturity to display it so people can see how emotional mature you are now. So what's at issue is the Emperor, a control freak. We have someone who's causing problems for you, and it could be you, or it could be someone in your life, or it could be an institution in your life also. that's very control freaky, wants everything just a certain way, a puppet master, controlling everything. Just the reversed, in this position, we take the Emperor reversed, and that's issues with control. In the upright, he's well self-controlled. He has everything he needs. In the reversal, it's all about manipulation. It's all about controlling others. Not someone who's not happy unless they're in control of everybody and every aspect, and they want to be reality's little puppet master, and everyone's going to do exactly what they want them to do. So if that's you, you're hoping to be emotionally mature, but you're not. You're being controlling, because controlling behavior is always rooted in, of course, anxieties and fears. That's what underlies it. And the idea that we are not going to be able to handle things being not exactly the way we want. It's just massive anxieties. And the more controlling someone is, even though they seem powerful and have a powerful position or not, but they might seem very powerful, the more controlling they are, the more of a huge crater of, the super volcano of Yellowstone lies beneath that, of insecurity and fear, that if something doesn't go exactly right, they're not going to be able to handle it. They don't know what to do when that happens. So this is control freak behavior. And you don't need to succumb to it, but it's important to understand, you don't need to be like, oh, well, they just have anxiety, so I guess I have to do everything they say. Don't do that, because you get to stay in your power. And if you don't have anxiety, you shouldn't be being controlled by someone who does, because that's just, that's not your issue. So why are you being subject to that issue? I mean, there are obviously places where we can't help it, but you can understand that, and you can bring that understanding in, even with yourself, even if you see yourself being controlling. And I think everybody gets a little bit like this. We can't all be completely mellow and, okay, I'm just going to go with the flow. We can't all be like that all the time. So even if you see yourself controlling, it's a message to yourself to be like, okay, I have a lot of anxiety. I don't actually have self-confidence. I have a lack of self-confidence, and I'm trying to make up for it by controlling everybody and everything around me, or trying to. And you'll be very unhappy because you can't. So whoever's being very controlling here isn't very happy and is dealing with a lot of anxiety, and they literally can't control everything. So their strategy for dealing with their anxiety is going to blow up in their faces. So that's what's at issue, is some control freaky behavior. Is it coming from you, or is it coming from someone else? You'll know. In your environment, you have this Ace of Swords. So you have this epiphany, this clever new truth, this divine truth that's come in here. It's something very clear to you. It's divinely guided. It's a sudden realization of a sudden truth, or even a true communication. I mean, we've got this communication card already here. So this could be someone's saying something that changes the whole dynamic, that maybe even starts this new romantic cycle. There's this new beginning in truth and honest communication coming in, and a smart idea possibly, because the sword is intellect and truth and communication. So we have something new coming in with that. It's divinely guided. And look, one of my viewers looked this up because I was talking about it and didn't understand it. This is called half blading. And it's a way to use your sword in more clever, precise ways. So this can give you more control over the sword. And the sword is all about precision already. So this is extra precise epiphany, extra precise truth coming in a clever way to pierce your armor or pierce the armor of somebody else. And that sounds so like violent, but truth, we've all got this armor here, this control freakiness. We've all got some sort of armor protecting ourselves because we're wounded, right? We're wounded. We're all pretty much wounded warriors here. And we've got this armor protecting ourselves. So someone kind of has to get especially the divine has to get a little clever and get in between those little bits of our armor to get our attention. It's just a sword of attention. It's not a sword here to kill you. So it's a sort of attention. So something's coming in to get you attention, and they're going to have to do it. The divine's going to do it in a really creative way that grabs your attention. It's going to feel an epiphany, a sudden seeing. So, and that's the divine coming in. I want to say crown chakra stuff here. That's the divine coming into your head, coming into your mind, and giving you a sudden insight in a way that all your work and all your efforts wasn't bringing in. Your to-do list is temperance. So your to-do list is to bring peace between these two warring factions here. To bring this, you've got your super hot boiling stuff and your super cold ice cubes over here. Nobody wants to eat either of those things because they hurt. So you got to bring them together. These two painful extremes, you're mixing them like this. This is exactly what you look like when you're doing it. And you're mixing them and to make them drinkable, to make them palatable. So tempering. You're tempering this to make it, and it's going to take some patience. It takes some work. It takes some patience. It's going to take some skill to bring these sort of very different maybe ideas or painful extremes. This could be emotional extremes that you're going through. Two very different people, very different ideas. I mean, we're talking about this romantic cycle beginning or this new relationship cycle beginning. So it's going to take some work and some patience to bring these two things in equal measure together. So maybe you're blending households. I've never thought of that with this, but yeah, that would be like bringing, you know, okay, well, your dog hates my cat and my cat hates your dog. So we're going to have to like get them used to each other bit by bit. So you're getting used to something bit by bit, getting more comfortable with it. It's coming into a more comfortable place. You're going to have to work with spirit on this a little bit. It is going to take some patience and some work, but you can do it. There's a bright new beginning. You have another patience card actually coming up here for your possible outcome is strength. Strength can also be about patience. This is masculine and feminine coming together to be stronger, making each other stronger. This can also be like strength to hold your ground more, continuing to hold your ground. This can be strength to accept this new truth, the strength to continue working through this issue that's come in, but it does have to do with patience, and it has to do with strength, and there is sort of a divine timing here as well. There's an eternal struggle here or something that's been going on for a very long time, as far as like holding the aggressive and the passive, and maybe that's what this is too, is balancing out aggressive and passive energy, because this is also a yin-yang thing, and it's got this eternal struggle or eternal, and it's bringing in some peace, the strength to bring in this peace and to bring in this temperance. So these cards are actually very similar. So you're being called to bring in your temperance energy, and where you're going is a place of a lot of strength. I mean, especially once this process is done, you're going to be very strong. Your arms are certainly going to be strong, and you're going to be very strong. So you're going to a place of strength where yeah, there will be no need for this control freaky energy, because the strength will be within, and you won't need to display or deal with this control freakness stuff. So new stuff happening. So getting balance, bringing it in. Yeah. All right, Capricorn, I hope that was helpful for you, and I sure do like your likes, comments, and subscribes. They are encouraging for me, and they also raise the visibility of the channel so that other people can find these videos as well. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful week.